In this year, I have tried many things, like using my mobile phone as a server and hosting a game in it, making and deploying my first person website, creating a multi platform password manager app for mobile, web, and extension that will use a shared core logic for handling consistent password generation in different platforms, making a 2D avatar app that will track my face, audio, and mouse data to animate the avatar, or this simple app to track my time when doing something, for which I haven't made a video by the way. But even after making all these things, I was not happy with what I'm doing in my life. It feels like I forgot something that I want to do, something for which I have started this whole journey in the first place. But all of this changed when YouTube recommended me this video, How to Make a Video Game by Brackeys. And just in an instant, I realized what I was missing. In the quest of exploring everything, I simply just missed where to explore everything. My love for video games and the development behind these amazing games we all enjoy should have been the thing I explored. But there is a saying, Der I Drustai, means better late than never. So this is how I made my first game. To make my first game, I need to know how to make a game first. So I quickly went back to YouTube and opened the Brackeys How to Make a Game video and started following along with the tutorial. This tutorial was based on Godot, and Godot is a free and open source engine which doesn't have any hidden charges, won't take anything from the games you make, and will surely not introduce some random runtime fees within the night. When downloading the Godot game engine, my jaw literally dropped when I saw the size of the engine, as I was not expecting the size of the Godot engine to be this small. Okay, now back in the tutorial, it covered a wide range of topics like nodes in Godot, which is like the base building block. Everything here is a node. Example, character body, camera, collision shape, tile map. The scenes in Godot, which is like a collection of nodes bundled together, and other topics like player character, animated sprites, sprite sheet, collision detection, scripting, tile sets, tile maps, animation player, etc. And after completing the tutorial, I was ready for making my first game. Now I needed an idea for my game. So I started brainstorming some ideas for an hour, took some break, calm my mind, look at the wall, scroll through old photos and videos in my PC, and the first idea came to my mind is to make a 2.5D platformer. But as this idea was too much similar to the platformer I made by following the tutorial, so I just shelved this idea for now. The second idea that came to my mind is a concept. What if everything moves towards the player? And if anything touches anything, everything gets destroyed. This idea seems quite simple yet interesting for me to make. So I start refining the idea. Like, what if my player is a spaceship and there are homing missiles following the player, and if the homing missiles collide with anything, they explode. Then there are other things that come to my mind, like player health, power-ups, weapon system, boss fight, pickups, XP system, etc. But I discarded each of those extra ideas as I don't want my first game to be trapped in a scope creep, where I keep adding the features and the project never gets finished. I want my game to have a small scope, which I can finish in about a week. So with this I started prototyping the game. I made a cube and added movement controls to that cube so that I can move it in all directions. Now there was a problem in the character movement as it was moving fast diagonally. This can be easily understood when we make a right angle triangle, and we can see the length of this vector is under root 2, which is more than 1 when moving horizontally or vertically. So I fixed the movement by normalizing the direction vector, and the character is now moving equally in all directions. Next, I created another cube that will follow the position of the player. I subtract the enemy's position from the player's position to find the direction vector and then moving the enemy in that direction. Now, I want to add art in the game first before moving ahead. So I researched some good tools to make pixel art and found Aseprite is the go-to for making a pixel art. So I head to the website and found I can't save the files in the trial version. So this only left me with one option. Fine, build it myself. I cloned the project from Aseprite GitHub and compiled the build myself. Now I followed some YouTube tutorials to get some idea about the tools available in Aseprite. Then I created a spaceship sprite and then added a person controlling the spaceship. But for some reason it doesn't look right. So I moved the person 1 pixel down. Then I added some glass shine animations for the spaceship as well. Next I made a rocket sprite and added some animations to the rockets as well. Then I imported the sprites and updated the player and the rocket sprite. Now currently the rocket is not facing the player, so I fixed that. Also the rocket is directly moving towards the player's position and I want ability for player to dodge the missiles.
One nap later.
So I updated the rocket's logic and now the player can dodge the rockets. And I also made the player constantly move in space and flipped the sprite when moving in opposite direction. Next I made a clouds sprite that will serve as our game's background. But as there is no limit in the player's movement, I can't manually place clouds everywhere. So I made a clouds manager class that will display the clouds. At first I tried to place the clouds sprite at the player's position, and after this working, I made a logic to place the clouds in a grid, and the tile on which the cloud is placed is based on the position of the player. After this I updated the logic to make the clouds center around the player in a rectangle form, and thus our clouds logic is completed. Then I tried adding more rockets in the game, but the first thing I noticed is that it was very hard to see the rockets. So I made a new background sprite based on space and replaced the cloud sprite with the space one. Next I made some explosion sprites for the player and the rockets and added some collision detection to the player and rockets. But the explosions was not satisfying. So I made explosions SFX in the LabChirp app and imported it in the game. And now the explosions are satisfying. And now to make music for the game, I found this video from Brackeys again. So I downloaded the Bosca Ceoil Blue, which I found is the upgraded version of the original software, and start messing around with the software. After some time I made this music for the game. And then I exported this music and then imported it into the game. Now I made a GameManager class that will handle the time logic for the game, and I also added a text UI that will display the current time score. Now only one thing is missing in the game. It's more rockets. So I made a rockets manager class that will handle the rocket spawning logic. I made several functions that will spawn the rockets based on the player's position. Example, a function that will spawn one rocket in front of the player, one rocket in each corner, 8 rockets around the player, a rockets wall in front of the player, and then I added logic to spawn rockets at a particular time, and also defined the type of rockets to spawn at that time. I also added a random rocket spawn logic which will start spawning rockets when all the manually defined rockets are spawned, which will make the gameplay infinite. So that's it. This is the final game I made. I know it might be too simple of a game, but as my first game, I am quite happy with how this game turns out. It made me learn new things that I would have never even tried otherwise.